going to walk away from here and be a far better presenter, because that's a little bit like deciding that you want to go for your driver's license, so getting the learner's license book, and then reading that and knowing all the road signs and then thinking you can read, you can drive. Well, you can't. You've got to actually do it. And that's why we run 2 to 3 day programs where we physically teach people how to present. We get them up in front of the camera. We record them. We play it back. We give them feedback. We notice all the little funny things that people do. We make them get up again and do it a second time. They do this kind of introduction that Trudy just did now. We crit that as well. We give them the feedback. They then prepare and put together and deliver a third presentation. Now you can imagine, once you've gone through that 3 times, you're going to be a lot more skilled at presenting than if you just attended a 1.5 hour breakfast seminar. So clearly, one of the things that we're learning is that in order to become a great tennis player, what have you got to do? You've got to play tennis. You've got to hit the ball a lot. You've got to get used to it. In order to do anything well, you've got to become good at it. Remember the day that you got your driver's license. Let me just stick the picture up of the BMW wheel that I've got here. The first time that you went for your driver's test, and if you were lucky enough to pass it, and you thought to yourself, wow, I've got my driver's license, I can drive now. Well, you were a good driver. You were pathetic. In fact, you were a hazard on the road. The fact that you got your driver's license was only because at some stage they've got to give you your driver's license so that you can get good. Now, what happens to people the first time they get up and do a presentation? They usually mess it up. Or if they don't mess it up, they don't do it particularly well. In fact, it's very, very rare for somebody for the very first time to get up and do an outstanding presentation. It's almost unheard of. Why is that? Because maybe they've just got their license. Maybe they don't even have their license. Maybe they're getting behind the wheel of a car for the very first time. And I'd like you to cast your mind back to the very first time that you got behind the wheel of a car, especially a manual transmission car. And what happened? Well, firstly, you were kind of frozen because you weren't quite sure what to do next, but then the driving instructor said, well, best you put it in neutral for starters. So you put it in neutral, managed to get the car started. Now you want to get the thing moving. He said, hang on, have you released the handbrake yet? And luckily you weren't on a hill, so now you've got the engine going and you're getting ready. And he says, well, the whole idea is that as you've got to put the clutch in, put it into gear. There must be first gear, but be sure it's in first gear. As you pull away, what you do is you apply a bit of gas and then you release the clutch. And as you feel it pulling, you release the clutch. And also you said, oh, that must be a piece of cake. So you're sitting there, and as you go, and the car stalls. But that didn't happen to you, did it? You mean it happened to you too? It wasn't just me. And I've been feeling like an idiot for years, and now I discovered that this happened to you as well. You see, here's an interesting thing. I get people coming to me and saying, especially at the beginning of a presentation, they take me aside and they say, Paul, I just want to mention, can you hear me at the back? I just want to mention something to you. I'm very bad at presenting. That's what they say to me. Now that's amazing. That's like Lisa lining up to run the Comrades Marathon and taking a gun and shooting herself in both her feet and her kneecaps before the race starts. Because what you put in your head is actually what's going to come out about being a presenter. And if you're going to run a long race, but you don't believe that you're capable of finishing the long race, what's going to happen to you? You're going to bail because you don't believe you can do the long race. So if you get up to do a presentation and you don't believe that you can do a presentation well, what chance have you possibly got to do, have you got of doing the presentation the way you want to, or most importantly, getting the result that